So we're going to start standing and we're going to start with our calf stretch. So grab your half dome or your rolled up towel. And we're going to have the top of the foot to the top of the dome, heel down on the floor, and then step your other leg to about hip width apart. Just see how your calves are feeling. Check in and make sure that that doesn't create tension through the rest of your body. So making sure that you aren't clenching teeth or you've got shoulders up around your ears. Try and let the rest of your body be as relaxed as possible. And just take some deep breaths, keeping your weight back through the heel of the leg that's on the dome. So it's just a kind of general moving all of the bits session. And we're just going to kind of work through our body and just get everything moving, really. Always starting with the calf stretch, as you know, it's my fave. Once that stretch has started to ease a little bit, maybe seeing if you can step your free leg maybe a little bit further forwards. But if that makes you lose your alignment or you feel like you're going to fall back, then step back. A few more breaths here. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So switching sides. Again, top of the foot to the top of the dome, heel down. Step your free leg about hip width apart. And do your little scan again. So just notice, because sometimes if you have tension in one area of your body, you'll start to feel that the shoulders will come up or you're clenching fists or scrunching toes up. So just kind of scan through and notice, are you gripping anywhere? How about your thighs? Can you relax the front of your thigh? So notice if you're gripping a lot here. And once the stretch has started to ease a little bit and it just doesn't feel quite as intense, again, just see if you can step that free leg maybe a little bit further forwards. And if not, just bring it back. Good. Couple more breaths here. And then we're going to take it to a hip slide. So just leave your half dome where it is and just take your legs slightly wider than hip width and just kind of side to side here. So just getting a little bit of movement into the hip joint. Take your legs even wider. You're not going to have as much movement when you go wide. Folding forwards from the hips, it's that hip hinge. Same thing, you're still shifting side to side. All right. Coming back up, we're going to do our double calf stretch. So grab your half dome or your towel again, both feet up onto the top this time. And again, we're going to fold forward. So it's that hip hinge again here. And then just hold. You can rest your hands on your thighs. Making sure that your back is fairly flat. So stick your bottom out behind you rather than rounding your spine forwards. And then just take a couple of breaths there. How about those thighs here? Can you relax the fronts of your thighs here? So notice if you're gripping a lot and can you let them relax? And that will let your kneecaps relax. So you might notice that your kneecaps drop a little bit. And if you've got no movement there, maybe tense your thighs and then let them drop and see whether that helps. But you're just trying to keep your weight back through your heels. You're sticking your bottom out. So all of your weight is back so that you can release the quads on the front of your thighs. So maybe you can get your kneecaps to do a little dance. Like, can you release one at a time? And then we're going to come up and out of that. Okay, you can pop your half dome to the side so that you're not going to trip over it. And we're going to go back to feet hip width apart. I'm just going to do some heel raises here. So you're just going to rise up onto the balls of your feet and then just lower down nice and controlled. So just rising up and lowering down, trying to keep your ankles super straight. So you're noticing if as you come up, your ankles are wanting to roll out to the sides and lower down with control. Good. Let's add some arms this time. So as you come up onto your toes, reach your arms to the ceiling. As you lower your heels, circle your arms out to the sides and lower your hands. Let's do 2 more. Up and lower. 1 more time. Up and lower. Just give your legs a little shake out. Don't want to be holding any tension, any tightness there. We're going to come down onto the mat and we're going to do our cat-cow on all fours. Under your shoulders, knees are directly under your hips. Take a breath. As you exhale, you're going to tuck your bottom under and round. Make your spine as round as you can. Let your head just drop like head is hanging between your arms. Hold there. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, go the other way. Stick your bottom out this time. Arching your back this time. Imagine you can bring your chest through your arms. Your head is the last thing to move. So we're going to go between those 2 positions, just at your own pace. Trying to get as much movement there as you can. So this is a nice way to release any tightness, any tension through your spine, and just get it moving. Notice how it's moving. Try and start the movement off at your tail and finish at your head. Let's just do a couple more of those. Really good. Excellent. All right, from here, we're going to go to rhomboid push-up. So we're going to keep on our hands and knees. You're going to keep your arms nice and straight, elbow pits are forwards. Can you bring your shoulder blades together in your back and then press your shoulder blades wide? So shoulder blades squeeze together, shoulder blades wide. Keep going, trying to get as much movement through your shoulders as you can. So really focusing on what those shoulder blades are actually doing. Can you feel them squeeze? Can you feel how wide can you get them to go? It's almost like they're wrapping around the outside of your rib cage, like they're coming towards your underarm area. Can you really spread the shoulder blades wide? 2 more, and then we're going to come down onto our front. And then come all the way down onto your front now. We're going to do some hip extension here. So you can have your hands one on top of the other and rest your forehead on your hands. I'm going to keep my head up just so that you can hear me a little bit better. Pubic bone is anchored. Tailbone slightly tucked to bring your pelvis into a neutral position. And then you're reaching one leg away from you and making that leg as long as you can. And that leg is now so long that it's lifted off the floor and then lowers down. Do the same on the other side. Reach the leg as long as you can and lower it down. So we're going to keep going. You're going to notice as your leg lifts if your pelvis is twisting. Try and keep your pelvis as still as you can. Remember here that it's the glutes and the hamstrings, so your bottom and the back of your leg, that we're trying to get to do this work rather than your lower back. Lower back is as relaxed and as quiet as you can possibly make it. Don't worry about how high you lift your leg. We don't have a huge range of movement here anyway. I'm more bothered that you can feel your glutes and hamstrings working. Good, keep going. We're going to do 1 more on each side, and then we're just going to take the pressure off our back, just have a little stretch. So push yourself up and back into your rest position, into that child's pose for a moment. And just take a few breaths here, just allowing your spine to relax and to round. And then we're going to come back down onto the mat and we're going to do a little bit of back extension this time. So come back into that same position. We still want to have our pubic bone anchored, tailbone slightly tucked to get as neutral a pelvis as we can. And then we're going to bring our hands just in front of our shoulders and elbows are tucked in by your sides. We're going to have a little back extension here. So looking down at your mat, you can have your forehead down or just hovering. I want you to imagine somebody's picking you up by the hair on the back of your head and they're lifting the back of your head towards the ceiling. So you're lifting your head, your neck and your chest away from the floor And then just lowering it back down, but you're keeping your eyes down the whole time. Let's do a few of those. Let's inhale as you come up and exhale as you go back down. Now, you don't have to make this a really big movement. It can be super small, but try and keep length through the back of your neck. And we're trying to keep that space in the lower back. So keeping your pubic bone anchored, keeping your tailbone slightly tucked. Notice if you have a tendency to push your rib cage down into the mat as you're trying to come up. Are you trying to push your ribs into the mat? Can you keep your ribs pulled into your body so that you aren't creating that shear of your back? Let's just do a couple more here, just coming up to a position that feels okay for you. And then you're going to go back into your rest position again. So hands push you back, take your bottom back towards your heels and just hang out here for a few breaths. Maybe it feels good to just rock your weight gently side to side here. What feels good to you? We're going to go onto our back next. So come on over onto your back. Lay yourself down. Let's have knees bent, feet flat. And just take a moment for your body to settle into the floor here. Think about rolling your chest and shoulders open. Back of your pelvis is anchored on the mat. Noticing if you are kind of looking at the looking over your head. Do you need something under your head to allow your neck to be nice and long and to be as relaxed as possible, not creating any extra tension here? We're going to just do some leg stretches. So let's bring your right knee in towards your chest. Keep your tailbone anchored, but pull that right knee as close to you as you can. Hold in there. And then straighten that leg up towards the ceiling. Again, keep hold of it. Keep your tailbone anchored. And let's point and flex our foot here. So this movement, we're trying to get from your ankle, not just your toes. And then can you circle your foot around? How's it moving? Can you reverse and circle the other way? And then pulling that knee back in towards your chest again. Keep your bottom anchored. Don't let your bottom lift. And then placing the right foot back down on the floor. Let's do the same on the left. So bringing the left leg in, pull it in towards you, keeping your bottom anchored. The reason I'm getting you to keep your bottom anchored is to give you a real good hip stretch and knee stretch, because if you allow your bottom to lift, you're not getting as much bend as you think you are in the hips, because a lot of it then is coming from your back. So that's kind of why I like to do it this way. Let's straighten that leg to the ceiling now. Keep hold of it straight as you can. And again, let's point and flex here. And checking that your ankle is doing the work and not just your toes. And then can you do your circles here? Just noticing, is it as easy on this side? Do you have any clicky bits? Reverse, go the other way. Good, and then pulling your knee into your chest again, keeping your bottom anchored. And then releasing that leg. Let's go into cobbler now. So soles of the feet come together, knees roll out to the sides. Nice hip opening movement, releasing any tension through the inner thigh. So while we're here doing this, let's stretch out the arms and shoulders. So reaching your arms to the ceiling, interlace your fingers and turn the hands over to press your palms straight up to the ceiling. Keeping your shoulder blades anchored on your mat. Take your arms overhead towards the floor behind you, but don't let your ribs lift. So you're only going as far as you can maintain that rib connection to the mat, back of the ribs. A couple of breaths. And then slowly bring your hands back to the ceiling. Bring your fingers apart and really stretch your fingers as wide as you can. Give your fingers a wriggle. And then circling your hands around, circling your wrists around. About 5 in each direction, something like that. Just getting everything moving. And then gently pulling each finger in turn back to stretch out your fingers, stretch out your hands. And when you've done all of your fingers, just give them a wriggle again. And just bring your arms back down by your sides. Okay, we're going to bring the knees back up. So we've got feet flat, knees bent. And we're going to go into some single knee folds here. So take a breath. And as you exhale, you're just going to bring one leg into that tabletop position and then lowering that leg back down. So we're going to move, we're going to lift the leg on the exhale. So take a breath in. And as you exhale, bring your other leg this time into tabletop and inhale as you lower down. Exhale as you lift. Inhale as you lower. So you're just noticing here whether your pelvis is having to rock side to side, is it having to move anywhere? Finding that connection with your abdominals. So as you exhale and you lift your leg into tabletop, your abdominals are going to be working pretty hard here. So just notice whether you can feel that, have you got that awareness? And if you haven't, it doesn't matter, but just notice. As you bring your leg up into tabletop this time, hold it there. Take a breath, and as you exhale, bring that second leg up to join it. We're going to go to toe taps this time. So as you inhale, tap your toe down onto the mat. As you exhale, bring that leg back to the ceiling. Keep going. Inhale to tap the toe down. Exhale to bring it back up. Again, just being aware of your abdominals. So not trying to pull them in, not trying to do anything with them. Just notice. Can you feel as you bring that leg back up, as you exhale, that your abdominals are working? They're sinking down deeper. Now, if you notice that your abdominals aren't actually pulling in, but they're bulging up towards the ceiling, then I want you to just have a rest, bring your knees to your chest, and go back to just lifting one leg at a time. Otherwise, we're going to carry on here with these little toe taps, and we're going to add the arms as well. So reach your arms to the ceiling. As you tap your toe down, your opposite arm is going to reach overhead, and then they're both going to pull back to the ceiling. Again, using your breath, inhale as you reach your arm, tap your toe, and exhale to pull back to the ceiling. So this is a lot of work for your core. It's having to stabilize and keep your pelvis still, keep your ribs down, and pull a heavy arm and heavy leg back in through center. So although it looks pretty simple, there's a lot going on. Good. Can you do one more on each side? And then just bring your knees into your chest, give your knees a little hug, and just rock gently side to side. So I want you to grab your block or your half dome or your cushion, whatever you've got. And we're going to do some of those log pullovers where we take the arms overhead. So whatever you've got handy, we're going to grab hold of it. And we're going to take it up towards the ceiling. So we've got feet and knees. In fact, no, let's have legs out long. Let's do legs long for a change. So legs out long, they can be squeezing together or hip width apart, whichever feels better for you. Now, if at any time you start to feel that your lower back isn't happy and it's starting to arch or create any kind of tension, just go back to knees bent. Okay. Take your block up towards the ceiling. Soft elbow, let's have a slight bend in the elbow and draw your elbows towards each other. As you inhale, you're going to take your arms overhead, only as far as you can without the ribs lift, and exhale to come back to the ceiling. We're going to keep going. Inhale as your arms go overhead, and exhale to come back up towards the ceiling. Keeping the soft elbow. Elbows are drawing in towards each other like there's little magnets on them, and they're pulling in. Can you keep your ribs down here? So the ribs will really want to lift as your arms go overhead. Good. We're going to do 3 more here. And the last one. Good job. And then we are going to bend the knees, and you're going to pop whatever you were just using for your arms, you're going to pop it between your knees for your knee squeeze. Checking that you've got a neutral pelvis here. So hip bones and pubic bone on the same level. Take a breath, and as you exhale, squeeze your knees together. Inhale as you release. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, release. And we're just going to keep going just with the speed of your breath. Paying attention to what's happening in your lower body. So noticing if your bottom is squeezing really tight. And try and let your bottom be as relaxed as possible. So we don't need to be squeezing our butt for this. Our inner thighs are going to be what's doing all of the work. If your butt squeezing, the chances are your pelvis is trying to tip back as well. So we're trying to keep the pelvis super still. Working your inner thighs. You will also be working your deep low abdominals. You may be able to feel that, you may not, it doesn't matter. But each time you exhale, you squeeze, your inner thighs are working and your deep abdominals are too. Rest of your body is relaxed. So check your jaw, check your shoulders, making sure you've not got little fists or scrunched up your toes. Everything else nice and soft. Good. 3 more. Squeeze, release. All right, now this time we're going to squeeze and we're going to hold it. So when you're ready, exhale and squeeze. Now just keep breathing normally, but keep squeezing. And we're going to hold that squeeze. We're holding it for long. 10, 9, keep squeezing. 8, 7, 6, 5, squeeze harder. 4, 3, 2, 1, release. We're going to do little tiny pulse squeezes now. We're going to do 10. Let's go. Squeeze. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squeeze and hold. We're going to hold it for 10 again. Breathe normally. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Good job. Take your block out, pop it back down, give your knees a little hug, and just rock gently side to side. Just a little reset. So staying with working the thighs, we're going to do some patella centering exercise next, which really works your quads, but it's really good for your knees. So we're going to keep one leg bent and we're going to straighten the other leg out long. Doesn't matter which side, just do whichever you prefer. Bring your legs close together so you can just feel that they're touching in that midline, and then pelvis neutral. Okay, keeping your pelvis super still, take a breath in. Lengthen your leg away from you, and as you exhale, you're going to start to slowly lift that leg just until it's level with the other leg, so your thighs are level. And then you're just going to lower that leg down on your inhale, and you're going to keep going nice and slow. So each time you exhale, you lift the leg. Each time you inhale, you lower. Imagine that that leg is like the world's heaviest leg. Might feel like the world's heaviest leg. So this is where I say imagine that you're in your big vat of treacle or chocolate, a big vat of Nutella, something like that. And it's really heavy. So it's really difficult to lift the leg. It's really difficult to lower it. And if your leg starts to tremor, that's okay. The tremor of truth will appear. Keep reaching that leg. We're going to do 2 more of these. Reach. And when you do that last one, as you lower your leg down, you're just going to switch legs and do the same on the other side. So again, making sure that your legs are hugging in towards the midline. Pelvis is neutral. Take a breath. And as you exhale, you're lifting the leg. As you inhale, you're lowering down. Now, some people like to do it with a really pointed foot, some people with a really flexed foot. I just like a soft foot, so I'm really concentrating on what's happening with my quads, with my legs, rather than what's happening with my foot. So just let your foot be wherever it wants to be. And lift and lower. Again, remember that you're creating your own resistance. Really good. Nice and slow, nice and controlled. Pelvis stays super still. Again, your abdominals are going to be working pretty hard here. Last one. And then we're going to switch sides again. So going back to your first side, this time turning the leg out. So we're turning out from the hip. Take a breath and exhale, you lift. Inhale, you lower. Same. Pelvis, no movement. Just think about your thigh bone moving in your hip socket. Still creating that resistance. How much work are you using the other leg for? So how much are you pressing your other foot down into the floor? Can you let that other foot just rest gently on the mat rather than pressing down and using that leg to stabilize you? That makes it harder. That makes your abdominals work more. Last two. And then again, let's switch and do the same on the other side. Turning out from your hip. Take a breath and exhale, we lift. And inhale, we lower. So you can do this as quick or as slow as you like, but making sure that you aren't flinging, and that everything is really controlled. Again, how much weight are you putting through your standing leg? Can you unweight that leg? Makes it a little bit harder work. Last two. Really good. When you finish that last one, bring your leg back in. Let's go back into cobbler. Soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. Releasing that inner thigh tension. Just take a few breaths there. Good job. All right, bringing your knees back up towards the ceiling. Then do some spine curl here now. So let's have feet and knees hip width apart. Just make sure you haven't got anything under your head for this one. Take a breath. Tilt your pelvis towards you. And as you exhale, you're going to start to roll your hips up towards the ceiling. Keep your eyes on the ceiling as you peel your spine up. Pausing at the top to take a breath. And as you exhale, you're going to slowly roll your spine back down. So like how you did that articulation through cat-cow, moving the spine bit by bit, you're trying to do the same thing here. So just go in at your own pace. Noticing how it feels. So does it feel like each area of your spine is coming down at the same speed, even? Is there any bits that feel like they're not touching the mat at all? Just notice. Good job. And do one more time. And then as you roll down this time, you're just going to take a pause there and bring your knees to your chest again, giving your knees a little hug and just rocking gently side to side. So we're going to go into a hip lift this time. So bringing your feet and knees back down again. So instead of rolling your spine up this time, you're just going to push your heels into the floor and lift your hips straight up to the ceiling, and then fold at the hip and lower your bottom down. So your spine is kind of coming up in one piece. And we're going to just keep going here. Pushing into your heels, lifting your hips to the ceiling, and then lowering your bottom back down onto the mat. Notice if there's a temptation for your knees to kind of splay out to the side. Think about sending your knees straight down towards the bottom of your mat. Making sure that you aren't thrusting the ribs here. So the ribs kind of want to stay at the same height as the pelvis the whole time. Or level with the pelvis the whole time. As you get to about halfway this time, can you hold it there? So we're holding it halfway. Make sure your ribs are relaxed and down. They're not lifted higher than your hips. And can you unweight one foot? So can you lift one foot away from the floor? And then place that foot back down. How about the other side? Can you unweight one foot and lift that foot away from the floor? We're going to keep switching sides. So if when you lift your foot, your pelvis really dips on one side, you're going to work really hard to then get that pelvis level again. And the way that you're going to do that is by pressing into your standing leg and getting that level pelvis. Good. Let's do one more on each side. Really good. And then as you lower in your leg this time, lower your bottom. And again, let's do that little knee hug. Just rock gently side to side, little reset. Coming onto your side now, we're going to do some side leg work. So have your head in your hand or arm out long, whichever works for you. Legs out long, and then let's bring them slightly forwards just to give you a little bit more stability. Checking that your pelvis is stacked so that your hip bone and hip bone are in a straight line. And then reach that top leg as far as you can. Make that top leg as long as you can. And we're just going to lift and lower here. So think about reaching, lengthening it away. Imagine someone's got hold of that leg and they're pulling it, creating more space through the waist, more space in your hip. Good. Two more. Again, you can go as fast or as slow as you like, as long as it's nice and controlled. We're going to do circles now. So reach that leg and circle it around. Think again about reaching so much that there's more space in that hip socket. Really good. Can you reverse that and go the other way? We're going to go into kicks now. So keeping that foot flexed or flat, you're going to kick it forwards for two little kicks and then point your toe and take that top leg back. Trying not to thrust your ribs, trying not to roll forwards. Again, flat foot kicks forwards, 1, 2, point the toe and take the leg back. Keep going. Kick, kick, and take it back. We're just going to do two more of these. Last one. And as you take that leg back this time, we're going to keep that leg back. We're going to bend the knee and then reach your top hand back so you can grab your ankle, give you a bit of a stretch through the front of your thigh. So we're trying to really open up that hip. So notice if that knee's trying to come forwards, and try and have that knee back so that you've got a straight line from your upper body down your thigh to give you a good stretch through your quad. A few breaths here, making sure that you aren't thrusting your ribs. Release that. Let's do the same on the other side. Again, legs long, and then just kicking them slightly forwards to give you that little bit more stability. Reaching that top leg, make it as long as you can. And we're going to lift and lower here. Again, thinking about space through your waist, through your hip. Good. Let's take it into circles. Keep reaching. Can you reverse? Go the other way. Keep reaching. We're going to do our kicks again here. So flat foot comes forward for two little kicks, and then point your toe, taking that leg back, but trying not to lose your pelvis. Again, two little kicks and taking it back. Keep going. Let's do one more of those. And then as you take your leg back on that last one, you're going to bend your knee reach that hand back, grab your ankle and give yourself a little quad stretch there. Again, try not to have that knee forwards so that you are indeed stretching your quads. Oh, so good. Few breaths there. Good. All right. And then release. Go back onto your back again. Knees bent, feet flat. Bring your feet and knees together. We're going to go into spine twist. Taking your arms out to the sides, palms face up towards the ceiling. Letting both knees roll gently to one side. Back in through center and excuse me, over to the other side. Keep going. I'm just choking on nothing, dust probably. Excuse me. Sorry, drink of water noises, that's very pleasant for you. Okay, so just side to side. Trying to keep your shoulder blades, your rib cage anchored into the mat so that your rib cage isn't moving. But your pelvis is twisting side to side, which means there's movement through your waist. Staying with the spine twist, let's pick the legs up into tabletop and allow the legs to go side to side. So make it quite small to begin with because it's a lot more load and it's a lot more work for your abdominals to bring those legs back in through center now. So just have a little play with that. Good. And then rolling yourself onto one side. So whichever side your knees are going to go to this time, allow your body to roll all the way over. And then we're going to reach that bottom arm out long and then just bring it around to cradle your head. So kind of stretch and bring it all the way around to cradle your head. I've lost my mat. Shuffle back onto your mat if you've lost your mat. So we've got our knees bent now. We're going to take our top arm, our free arm up towards the ceiling to really stretch. Think about that shoulder blade moving away from your spine as you reach your arm to the ceiling. Spread your fingers wide. Start to take that arm overhead, trying to bring your thumb down towards the floor, but don't let your rib cage lift. So notice if your ribs are trying to lift. So maybe your thumb will reach the floor, maybe it won't, and that's okay. And then we're going to bring our arm back up towards the ceiling. I'm going to play with that. Keep reaching that arm, keep reaching that arm, keep reaching that arm as you take it up and overhead. Maybe it will touch the floor, maybe not, doesn't matter. We're going to keep going back up to the ceiling and then back overhead. One more time. And as your arm comes back up towards the ceiling this time, we're going to reach it again. And we're going to start to take that arm back behind us. So allow your arm to open out, keeping your knees down on the floor. You can allow your upper body to twist with it as far as you can maintain that knees down. Head still supported in your hand and arm reaches back. I'm going to do that little arc here. So that arm is reaching back, but then start to take that arm up towards your head and then back out to the side. So you're just playing with the range of movement that you have here. And you can kind of try turning your arm a little bit. So you kind of having your arm in that external rotation, maybe roll it in, just moving it around a little bit and just seeing how it feels. Just playing with your shoulder range. Good. All right. We're going to come all the way back up. Just release your arm, come roll back onto your side, roll onto your back. And then we're going to roll to the other side. So knees are going to roll to the other side. Again, reach that bottom arm out, take it up, sweep it up and overhead, and then bend your elbow to cradle your head and take your free arm up towards the ceiling. Stretch your fingers wide, reach your shoulder blade as far away from your spine as you can. And then again, start to take your arm overhead. Can you get your thumb down towards the floor? Is it different on this side to the other side? Coming up. So just playing again with that movement here. And notice if your rib cage is trying to lift, kind of at the side is the whole of your upper body trying to go. And try and keep that relaxing down. Good. And then as your arm comes back up towards the ceiling this time, we're going to do that rolling back again. So again, allow your arm to go. You can let your head, your upper body follow it. And keep your knees down on the floor. So just go in, you'll find your position that feels okay for you. Kind of hanging out there. And then starting to move that arm again in that little arc. So up towards your head, back out to the side. And don't be afraid to move your arm around and see how it feels. So we always like to be in that external rotation because it opens out your shoulder and your chest, but just kind of playing around with that movement. Is it the same on both sides? It's like flossing your shoulder joints. Just getting lots of movement there. So good. All right, when you're ready, roll back onto your side. Roll yourself onto your back. Let's do knees to chest again, little knee hug. And just rolling out your low back. Releasing your feet back down onto the floor. Let's go wide feet now. So towards the edges of your mat. Feet and knees are wide into windscreen wipers. So both knees again are going to roll to one side. Back up through center and over to the other side. So it's just a different movement now. Getting a little bit deeper into your hips. Still want to keep your back of your rib cage and your shoulder blades anchored on the mat. So rib cage still isn't going anywhere. It's just the hips. So that's a deeper into your ribs, I meant into your hips. So rib cage isn't going anywhere, but your pelvis is twisting with your legs. Nice. We're going to go into our strap stretch next. So as you come through center this time, find your strap and you're going to pop it around the base of the toes of one foot and then lengthen your other leg out long. The leg that's in the strap is going to be as straight as you can get it. And you're going to press your heel away and pull the front of the foot towards you. Do that with both feet. So pushing the heel away, pulling the front of the foot towards you with both feet. And then just allow that leg to be heavy in the strap. You're holding it with your arms. We're trying to release tension down the back of the leg. So trying to release tension through your calf, your hamstring. Let's bring the leg across now. If it feels okay for you, bring it across, stretching more into your outer hip now. A few breaths there. Bringing that leg back in through center, slightly turn out again from your hip joint and take your leg out to the side. Only go out as far as you can maintain that nice neutral pelvis without it lifting away from the floor. A few breaths there. When you're ready, bring that leg back in through center. We're going to do the same on the other side. So switching legs. And again, you're going to push out through the heel, pull the front of the foot towards you on both legs. The leg in the strap is super straight and heavy. It's just hanging in that strap. Keep pushing your heel away, pulling the front of the foot towards you. We want length through the back of the leg. So making sure that that knee doesn't have a sneaky bend, to have a little rest. And then bringing your leg across your body. As always, if it doesn't feel right, you can keep it in center. You've always got to pay attention to what your body's telling you. Bring your leg back in through center, slightly turn out from your hip and take it out to the side. A few breaths there. All right, bring that leg back in through center and then release the strap. Pop the strap down and lengthen both legs out long. Reach your arms overhead and stretch from fingertips to toes, making you as long as you can. We're going to go into our crescent stretch from here. So walk your feet to the right and then walk your arms and upper body also to the right. So you're in that crescent or banana shape. Remember, you can stay here if that's enough stretch for you today, or cross your left ankle over your right. And with your right hand, you can grab your left wrist and again, just create a little bit more stretch through your upper body. Notice if that's made your rib cage lift away from the floor. Try and keep the back of your rib cage and your shoulder blades anchored on the mat. And take some deep breaths. So this is a really good opportunity to practice your rib expansion with your breath. So as you take a really deep breath in, can you feel how the left side of your rib cage really stretches? Can you feel how the left side of your waist gets a big stretch as you take that deep breath in too? Always trying to create more space and more length through the body. So in this kind of banana shape, we're creating extra length down the left side of your body. A couple more breaths here. And then again, we're going to release the arms, let your arms come down, release your legs, walk in through center. Let's go over to the other side. So walk your legs to the left, to the left, to the left. Take your arms up and overhead again and walk your arms and upper body also to the left. So you're in that banana shape here. Stay here if you want, or cross your right ankle over your left. And with your left hand, grab your right wrist and just give it that extra stretch. Ribs stay down, shoulder blades anchored into the mat. And take those deep breaths here. Finding that extra space and that extra stretch on the right side of your rib cage and your waist this time. So does it feel different on this side to the other side? Just checking in and notice. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And then release your arms, let your arms come down, release your legs. Taking your time, bring your legs in, bring your knees into your chest one at a time and just rock gently side to side. So again, just releasing your lower back. We're going to come up to seated now. So come on up to seated. And we're going to have our knees bent. And we're going to hold just below our knees. And we're going to lean back until our arms are straight. And then I want you to think about dropping your ribs down. So it's almost like you're rounded a little bit. So those ribs are down. And then keeping the ribs down, keeping your arms straight. Can you tilt your pelvis forwards and backwards here? So this is your click-clack movement. So it kind of is one of those movements that it sometimes takes you a bit of time for your body to figure out what it is exactly you're trying to get it to do. So keeping the ribs down, can you tilt your pelvis forwards and backwards? And if you've got no movement there at all, and your brain's just like, I don't even know what we're trying to do, it's this movement. It's when we're laid down and we're tilting the pelvis towards us and away from us. So think about that marble. If you've got no movement at all seated, come back to lying down and doing it here. Kind of get that idea in your head, get that movement, and then try it again seated and see whether you can find it here. Now, because I like to just move my ribs in place of everything else in my body, I have to really focus on not making it all here. So check in and make sure that you're keeping those ribs down, you're keeping your arms straight, and you're just tilting your pelvis forwards and backwards. Again, if you've got no movement at all, what you can do, if you've got a half dome, is sit on your half dome. So you would have the round side down, flat side up, and that helps you, because obviously it's got a rounded bottom, to get a bit more movement. So again, you can kind of play with it on the half dome, you can play with it lying down, you can play with it seated, but the whole point is to mobilize your pelvis so that you're not only able to move your pelvis as everything else is moving. So I'm going to kind of leave you to play with that. Click clack. It's called, oh, the dog's trying to break into the room. It's called click clack because they say that as you're doing it without anything under your bottom, that you're kind of rolling up and over your sit bones, and it's meant to kind of make that clicky clacky. Sorry, you can come in. That clicky clacky noise as you roll over your sit bones. Hi. Hi. So keep playing with that. And you can kind of play with it with your legs in different positions. Maybe play with it in that cobbler position. Can you get any movement of your pelvis there, or is it all coming from your ribs? And yeah, let me know how you find the click clack. You were just desperate to come in, weren't you, and say hi.